everybody, and welcome back to another manga review today, and or explanation, or I don't know, recap, like a lot of things basically. But I really wanted to talk about the Thousand-Year Blood War again with Bleach, as I'm nearing. I only have about 10 more volumes, Tankibon, before the end of the series, and basically I'll be starting with 61, and it's wow. What a volume. We pick up where we left off in volume 60 with Ichigo's, parents' backstory and all that, and basically where we left off with the Zangetsu and the fact that this Quincy power of Ichigo's was actually his 30% power, so big kind of deal. And I think it's set up pretty great, right? How do you power up your main character when your main character for your series is already so powerful, right? Well, you say that he's only at 30% of his power. He's only using his Quincy power this whole time. I think the explanation's great. I love some of these panels where we get basically the entirety of, Ichigo's, backs, like, hits all of his moments thinking back. This is a very cool panel, too, because he does look like a young Yuhaba. And basically, we go right into it, and he's done. This is probably one of the best transitions I've seen in Bleach, where he says, "This is your Zangetsu," and it's in his world, right? And then we actually see him pull it out. And I think it's pretty cool with the 4 sword women, the one with the mask, and the other 2 are like, "Has this ever happened?" All the water drained, and he pulls out 2 blades of both of his Zangetsu. I think it's just one of those, at this point, I think this is going to be a very iconic moment in Bleach. Again, I don't think the background, Kubo gets a lot of slack for not having background, but this is perfect. You don't need background all the time. And then the Stern Ritter, we see the Vanderite, and he basically chooses Ishida as the next, like the A letter in the Stern Ritter. He's basically giving the Vanderreich over to him. And I think that's kind of an understated thing. I think Ishida should have a role as all of Ichigo's friends, and this should be a main goal. I love how Hashwoltz even says, like, "Oh, I'm sure you wanted to kill Yuhabak, but you can't now because, he's just going to keep getting more and more powerful, and now all the Stern Ritter probably have it against you, and they're probably going to kill you because, you're taking their A letter." And I like how that we found out Hashwolf is B, which is kind of crazy that he's not even an A letter character. And there's a lot of animosity towards the other Stern Ritter because they all kind of want to be the successor, or they think of themselves in a certain way. Askin is definitely a character that immediately stands out. He's a pretty interesting character. I like the characters that wear the robes. This Pepe guy, though, I already don't like him because he's described in later volumes as being a godly, powerful character, and there's no way, because I already know how strong Askin is, because when Bleach was ending, there was no way you weren't going to see some of those images with Askin versus everyone in the finale. It was just everywhere, right? I think it's pretty cool. I don't know if this is going to matter later on, but Kurako actually gives everyone, like, those passes, like, so they can go back in the Soul Society. So I don't know if that's actually going to be a thing, or the Surete. So I think it's pretty cool how he made a backup plan. I mean, this guy's already said with the whole Unohana versus Zaraki thing, said, like, you need to find your Shikai. Like, he's making these snap judgments, and he's saying Ichigo may be too powerful and kill people like Aizen did when he was interacting with humans. So I think it's pretty good. And then we get this phenomenally drawn thing, where the Vanderite has always been there. They've always been in the shadows, which was odd and interesting, and it was a lot of things, right? Space is banned. Space manipulation is banned in Bleach, so I wonder if this is why. I wonder if they know, because they're kind of bending space and reality. It's kind of interesting, and the Vanderite all looks icy. I don't know if that's the effect or what it's supposed to look like, but it also kind of looks classically German. And I kind of like that line where it's like, "Oh, you're gonna, this is an invasion." He said, like, I love how Hashwell's just like, no, this isn't an invasion. We've been here this whole time. Like, and then, you know, I have to say this was pretty good invention. You know, covering yourself with light so that their shadows can't affect you. You know, and you know, having a whole laboratory that's light and having a stronghold is pretty cool. And then we get some pretty cool fights with Hitagaya versus Basby. Basby just annihilates this guy, right? And then BG9 shows up versus Soifon. And Soifon, I love how that she, you know, when even though they're, you know, in the process of them getting their Bankai back by holofying, I think that's a great explanation because Ichigo's Bankai, after we found out his Zanbakuto is hollow, so that makes perfect sense for why that would be. And I could not be happier with that explanation, right? Because that makes so much sense. And Uehara, he's a boss. I mean, this is what we needed, right? This is what we needed in some of the other conflicts. Like against the Arankar, I kind of felt like Uehara was the commander-in-chief kind of guy. Like he was making decisions, right? He decided to move to fake Karakura town, but it didn't really, you didn't see it, right? You didn't see it from the beginning, like him making these decisions. So this was a lot better, in my opinion. I mean, this war has a lot of problems, I would say, but geez, it's a step up from some other anime wars out there. And like I said, Basby, I really like Basby, although he does remind me a ton of Grimjow, but just kind of like a Mohawk, more confident version, I guess you could say. But yeah, I mean, he's a guy that just freaking annihilated. Like, and this is what I want from a war. And then King Do actually does. He's kind of like this cool, kind of like martial arts kind of dude, or at least that's the vibe. You know, he's got the Wolverine claws. I love how the Sternritter kind of wear these jackets now. And then he uses, you know, Hitagai's Bankai. I think that was pretty cool. But then he gets it back. The Bankai comes back and all that. And I'm not so sold on that. I love how Uehara comes back. And then they have him and Miria have like this interaction stuff. And that's pretty cool. I mean, because we saw them way back and Turn the Pendulum. But it's been a long time since then. It would have been funny if he called him Captain, you know, just like kind of like an insult way. But yeah, I think it's kind of interesting how the holification basically poisons them in essence, which is definitely interesting. I wasn't really expecting the Bankais to come back this early, so it's a little bit, I don't know how I felt about that. But, you know, I hope that, like, the characters, like, stay just as bloody as they end up being, you know, in this war. Because it feels kind of like a war, although a very disconjointed war, right? But it does feel like one. And BG9 gets just absolutely wrecked in a very cool moment, I think, where Captain and Vice Captain kind of have to team up together. But, you know, BG9's fine. This is why I don't understand why BG9 and King Do get eliminated, because I feel like they don't really need to. Bambette, I think she's a cool character, but she's a total wasted of a character. She doesn't really do a whole lot of anything. You know, she blows some characters up, right? But they're not important characters. And then she just immediately gets demolished in a Bankai. I mean, her Volstan is pretty, you know, it's a very angelic, like, you know, Bankai, but or a Volstan, but it's not Volstandish, but it's not really like a transformational one like Askin's was, or what's his name? Shit. But you know what I mean. It's not transformative like the Opie guy that Ichigo fights in the beginning of the war. And that's kind of what I wanted the Volstan stands to be, more of like kind of a transformational rather than just a halo. So that's, you know, I kind of agree with what the fans are saying there. This kind of gives me vibes of when he was walking, Ichigo was kind of walking back with Unohana, and they had to get back to where Aizen was and all that. And, you know, if you actually look at the clothes style, I wonder if, you know, I mean, this design's pretty amazing. I mean, all of their design after they come back from the Royal Realm is pretty great. Being Ichigo, Renji and Rukia especially. I love how Kumandora does like this like humification thing. I didn't see that coming. I did have some of that, a little bit of like his Bankai. I had this Bankai kind of spoiled for me before I got to it online, but it is pretty amazing. Actually seeing it colored and animated will be really cool. And he just decimates Bambiette, and Bambiette tries to kill him, and she realizes that he doesn't have any heart. He literally took out his heart in order to be a holification. But the back, I kind of figured that the sacrifice would be that he'd die, but and he just turns into a dog, which is kind of interesting because he doesn't really do a whole lot else after this point. I don't know if he still does after this, but yeah, this is what I'm saying. King Do and BG9 being eliminated. I don't know if it's because Yuhaba wanted their kind of like the Ryatsu, like he regains it. But that's the thing. I don't know. I just don't. I don't know why Kubo doesn't explain everything. And speaking from a word standpoint, I still don't understand what the Stern Ritter's objective or goal is. I don't understand. I don't know what the Soul King is. I don't know why. I would hope that these get answered, but and it's kind of a shame that the visors keep getting just messed up, right? This is a very cool Bankai by Rose. I'm just glad we got a Bankai, right? But he tells him how to defeat him by saying that it's only sound oriented, and then the masculine just destroys him. I mean, it's a very cool Bankai that incorporates fire and water and electricity and all sorts of stuff. But then he just I love how Bleach makes the most asinine things. Like, the way people survive things are just complete bullcrap. I mean, because what I don't understand is this guy right here, Rose, should be dead. There is no definition. He shouldn't have even been zombified. He should have been beyond dead, petrified, dead. No way. And that's the thing. It's like, as bad as the Fourth War was in Naruto, I don't remember anyone just getting wiped out completely and living. And I know they're supposed to be Soul Reapers, but it gets annoying after a while just seeing these people get wrecked and then they're just fine. It's kind of ridiculous. The masculine fight versus Renji, really freaking cool. I love how he says that he's like saying like, I'm the villain here, because, from his point of view, if he's considering himself a hero kind of thing. And the power levels is just like there's already a video about it online saying how Renji versus the masculine kind of just breaks power levels because it's just all over the place and fluctuation. And I think that's kind of, I don't know how strong Renji is, but he kind of seems over captain-like. There's so many cool moments though, and I like how masculine transforms beyond this. He has his mass transforms, his muscles get bigger, all that kind of stuff before the Volstren. So I kind of consider this to be a Volstren, Volstrendick that actually transforms, right? But that's the thing, I don't know. And I love how Ichibei, who knows all the Zanpakuto, actually tells Renji about saying like, hey, your Zanpakuto only considered you half a man kind of thing. So I think that was pretty cool. And then actually seeing his new Bankai, kind of ugly in my opinion, but it is pretty powerful. I think it's just a very ugly Bankai, but it's pretty cool nonetheless. And he completely wrecks the masculine. Then like I said, we get a little bit of a backstory with Yuhaba and the whole, like, he gives power, but then it takes a cost, as every time they die he actually can hear, he can see. It's like that famous telling in the beginning of the arc when he says, the Soul King will regain his heart after 900 years. So it's taken him quite a long time to actually be this strong, and apparently if he doesn't keep giving power and receiving it, he'll die, or he'll become a vegetable again, which is kind of crazy. And then it's kind of crazy how I wasn't really expecting Rukia to fight Asnod, but once this happens, this becomes like a really pretty cool fight. And finally, Rukia, throughout the series, Soul Society, she had her Ryatsu taken away. And she gave her Zanpakuto, like her spirit, her Ryatsu basically to Ichigo. So from the very beginning of the series, we've rarely seen her do anything unless it was in a Huecamundo, quite a long time ago. And so the fact is that she's actually wrecking a Stern Ritter in some ways, and keeping up her own, and the fact that she's throughout this war that in the beginning of the war she was a vice captain, which she wasn't before. I think she has a lot of justice done. And this dude is like, he is freaking, Asnod is one of the most messed up characters. Like, ugh. I mean, at least he had a transformation. It reminds me a lot of like a Hollow or like Yukiora. So I think that was pretty cool. That he actually has kind of a transformation. And that Rukia was the one, because I thought Byakuya was going to steal her kill and all that, but then out of nowhere he's like, yo, I'm backing away, this is your battle. And it's like, I wish more characters did that in anime. And then she just absolutely wrecks him. And it's kind of like this really, little bit, one of the most beautiful Bankais in contrast to Renji's ugly Bankai. And it kind of like this really kind of sad thing where Asnod was actually saying that he was scared when he was going to die, and it's a very realistic emotion, but he's just such a creep that you can't really feel too bad for him. And then lastly, in this part 2 of this 1,000-Year Blood War, I really want to talk about the Kenpachi versus Germa thing. Imagination is quite an insane power. I always thought it would be a really cool devil fruit in One Piece if there was a Mejimension kind of devil fruit where you can, use images and make them in a reality in your mind, as long as you're touching them maybe. And so this kind of idea is put to full mass. Germa is, like, I don't know how strong Germa is, but he's pretty freaking strong, right? Even if he is, what we see at the end, he can make his body into steel. He can, manipulate probably time. I mean, we saw him manipulate space by creating a galaxy room, and in a very cool visual, seeing Kenpachi's eyeballs get, fried. I mean, there's so many cool visuals too. I mean, he's able to trap Kenpachi in a cube of water. And here's this Pepe guy. I already don't like him, and I want him removed. I don't know why. I just don't like him, And Kenpachi is my favorite character, so seeing him go out. He's my favorite captain anyway. Seeing him go out and actually having a pretty good fight. I mean, it wasn't amazing, and I know some people were saying that Germa actually killed himself, but it's one of those things where Kenpachi pushed someone to the point of death, and he pushed them so far, they were so mad that they tried to overpower themselves, and they died. So I don't even know if that's killing themselves, right? So I honestly think that it is a win for Kenpachi, although it is kind of a strange one. And there's just so many faces in Kenpachi. I love when he finally uses Zanpakuto, and Norizashi, and it just absolutely, I love how he activates by saying drink, and he just decimates a meteor. This guy is a wrecking ball. No one and anything can really stop him, I don't think. And it's just such a cool visual that, he actually does pretty well against him. And then, like I said, Germa takes himself out, and then literally gets turned into a plate of a brain, which I was confused as hell when I first saw that, but it's kind of cool how he was saying, I'm going to defeat you without even using a finger. And he could have been right, you know what I mean? That was pretty cool. But Kenpachi then gets messed up by the Femritters. My favorite, probably waifu of all of them, is definitely Candace Cadnut. I mean, do I have to say anymore? A lightning person that can just... That's where I'm going to leave off. I think it was a fantastic volume. That's basically my recap of it. I think it's capped off by so many great fights. A lot of them are short. I mean, the Rukia fight was kind of, very slow paced. Not a lot went on. A lot of the fights so far have been pretty short. The masculine fight was pretty great, but it was kind of weird how he took out 2 captains. And I have to say that a lot of this war so far, it's not what I expected. Everyone said that it was a pile of garbage, and I mean, I don't know. I think the fact that characters are getting 1v1s is pretty amazing, and they're getting them against characters that are moderate fighters, or at least, decent. And I would, people that hate on this war, I wonder what they think of the fourth war for Naruto, because in that war there was literally very few one-on-ones, and it was very disappointing because characters didn't get to shine because there's two villains, for a majority of the war. So it was, this right now to me is fine. I mean, it might get worse. The Royal Realm was, it was pretty cool, but I don't really have that high of expectations from the Zero Division. I wasn't really impressed with them. But anyways, that pretty good, pretty solid. Part two. To this ongoing saga of Bleach. I would give this portion of the war a solid B plus. I think it's has a lot of things set up. It's maybe not as good as the part one with the Yamamoto thing and the Bankais and all that, but it is still pretty great, and hands down one of my favorite manga to catch up on and read. So if you like it, give me a like, all that, and otherwise I'll see you guys next time. Bye.